No, the federal election in Canada just a few hours away. It looks like Justin Trudeau is going to barely hang on for a minority government. I was predicting a majority government at the start of the campaign, but the polls kind of shift. Now, in recent weeks, Trudeau has been verbally and what he call chastised at various protests. Rocks have been thrown at him, all kind of machinations by a bunch of foolish people who think that yelling and throwing rocks is going to vote somebody out. If you don't want Trudeau in anymore, vote him out. I don't believe in violence in any of the party leaders in any shape or form. I believe in full coverage of all the candidates. Some media in Canada are not covering the other 10 parties or 15 parties that are running. There's a myriad of independents. They deserve our support, what their stands are for, and should get every option to be elected or not elected, as we say. But today we're not going to be talking more about the election. I want to give some background to Justin Trudeau's birth and early life, because I think it's interesting why so many people respect him and why a lot of people hate him, not just because of his father, who was the former Prime Minister of Canada, Pet as we call him, Pierre Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is a polarizing figure, nice looking, rich, somewhat connected, heavy privilege, and that either pisses people off. Now, I'm going to tell you something very all transparency. I was a maritime liberal for a number of years because the Liberals were hiring members of my family were the Conservative Party of New Brunswick, and the Conservative government on the federal side was not hiring any people in Northern New Brunswick. Robichaud went in for the Liberals, so did Pierre, and our roads were built, all kind of different federal and provincial programs that benefit the poor in my family from the Restigouche County Shore region, and for that I'm totally indebted. I would not have become a journalist were it not for the foundation created by Louis Robichaud and Pierre Trudeau. I'm not a sycophant that believes the Liberals can do no wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm a centrist by trade, but as a journalist I have to tell you the truth. There's a big reason why the Liberal Party is in power, because Justin, when the Liberal Party was down to nothing, rebuilt the party from the Ignatieff, Stéphane Dion years. I'm going to tell you why. Listen to this description of what his early life and his background is, and I'll give you some details of why he was a savior of the Liberal Party on the federal side. Now, on June 23, 1971, the Prime Minister's Office, PMO, announced that Pierre Trudeau's wife of 4 months, the former Margaret Sinclair, was pregnant and due in December. Justin Trudeau was born on Christmas Day 1971 at 9:27 EST at the Ottawa Civic Hospital. Now, he's the second child in Canadian history to be born to a Prime Minister in office. The first was John A. Macdonald's daughter, Margaret Mary Theodora Macdonald. Now, Trudeau's younger brothers, Alexandra, Sasha, born Christmas Day 73, and Michelle were the third and fourth. Now, unfortunately, Michelle passed away in an avalanche accident in 1998. He could have been a big part of the Liberal Party, but Justin took up the mantle on the political side. Now, Justin is predominantly of Scottish and French-Canadian descent. His grandfathers were businessmen Charles-Émile Trudeau and Scottish-born James Sinclair, who served as Minister of Fisheries in the cabinet of Prime Minister Louis St. Laurent, a Liberal. Trudeau's maternal great-grandfather, Thomas Bernard, was born in Makassar, Indonesia, and emigrated to Penticton, BC in 1906 at age 15 with his family. Through the Bernard family, kinsman of the Earls of Bandon, Trudeau was the fifth great-grandson of Major General William Farquhar, a leader in the founding of modern Singapore. Trudeau also has remote ethnic Malacna and Nias ancestry. Now, Trudeau was baptized with his father's niece Anne Rouleau Denis as godmother and his mother's brother-in-law Thomas Walker as godfather at Ottawa's Notre Dame Basilica on January 16, 1972, which marked his first public appearance. Big coverage on that. Now, on April 14, 1972, Trudeau's father and mother hosted a gala at the National Arts Centre, at which visiting U.S. President Richard Nixon said, "I'd like to toast the future Prime Minister of Canada to Justin Pierre Trudeau." To which Pierre Elliott Trudeau responded that should his son ever assume the role, he hoped he would have the grace and skill of the president. This is before the falling out between Nixon and Pierre. Now, earlier that same day, U.S. First Lady Pat Nixon had come to see him in his nursery to deliver a gift, a stuffed toy Snoopy. Nixon's White House audio tapes later revealed Nixon referring to that visit as wasting 3 days up there. That trip we needed like a hole in the head. I don't think Nixon was a big supporter of the Trudeau family. PR. Now, unfortunately, his parents announced their separation on May 27, 1977, when Trudeau was 5. His father was giving primary custody. Now, at the time, there were some allegations that Margaret was either not willing to take responsibility or wasn't 100% from a mental standpoint. I don't know either way, but Margaret was almost a public figure, hanging with different celebrities and allegedly certain machinations that I don't want to get into because, again, I wasn't there. Now, there have been repeated rumors of a reconciliation for many years afterwards. However, his mother's attorney, Michael Levine, filed in Toronto to the Supreme Court of Ontario for a no-fault divorce on November 16, 1983, which was finalized on April 7, 1984, with his father announcing his intention to retire as Prime Minister on February 29th of that year. Eventually, his parents came to an amicable joint custody arrangement and learned to get along quite well. Interviewed in October 1979, his nanny, Diane Lavarche-Genet, was quoted, "Justin is a mommy's boy, so it's not easy, but children hurts men very quickly, and they're lucky kids anyway." Now, of his mother and father's marriage, Trudeau said in 2009, "They loved each other incredibly, passionately, completely. But there was 30 years between them, and my mom never was an equal party or partner in what encompassed my father's life, his duty, his country." Trudeau has 3 half-siblings, Kyle and Alicia, from his mother's remarriage to Fried Kemper, and Sarah from his father's relationship with Deborah Coyne. Now, Margaret had dated a few people. Not going to get into celebrities who she dated, but Trudeau allegedly were dating a bevy of celebrities on the female side. There was allegations that Margot Kidder, Helen Shaver, I know Leona Boyd was a relationship that some were just casual and some was more important, but Trudeau was basically, you can be still in love with your wife or your husband, be separated, but be dating other people. And like I said, I think it was best that Margaret would find her own path in life, because Pierre was a very dominant person. Now, Trudeau lived at 24 Sussex Drive in Ottawa, the official residence of Canada's PM, from his birth until his father's government was defeated in the Fed election on May 22nd, 1979 by the PCs under Joe Clark. The Trudeaus were expected to move into Stornoway, the residence of the leader of official opposition, but because of flooding in the basement, Prime Minister Joe Clark offered him Harrington Lake, the Prime Minister's official county retreat in Gatineau Park, with the expectation to move in Stornoway at the start of July. However, the repairs were not complete, so Trudeau took a prolonged vacation with his sons to the Nova Scotia summer home of his friend, MP Don Johnson, and later sent his sons to stay with their maternal grandparents in North Vancouver the rest of the summer, while he slept at his friend's Ottawa apartment. Justin and his brothers returned to Ottawa for the start of the school year, but lived only on the top floor of Stornoway, while repairs continued on the bottom floor. His mother purchased and moved a new home nearby at 95 Queen Victoria Street in Ottawa's new Edinburgh location in September 1979. The Trudeaus returned to the Prime Minister's official residence in February 1980 after election that returned his father to the Prime Minister's office. Now, his father had intended Trudeau to begin his formal education at a French lycée, but Trudeau's mother convinced his father of the importance of sending their sons to a public school. In the end, Trudeau was enrolled in 1976 in a French immersion program at Rockcliffe Park Public School, the same school his mother had attended for 2 years when her family relocated to Rockcliffe Park while her father served as a federal cabinet minister. He could have been dropped off by limousine, but his parents elected he take the school bus, albeit with an RCMP car following. This was followed by 1 year at the private Lycée Claudel d'Ottawa. Now, after his father's retirement in June 1984, his mother remained at her new Edinburgh home while the rest of the family moved in with his father's home at 418 Pine Avenue, Montreal, known as Cormier House, where the following autumn he began attending the private Collège Jean de Brebeuf, his father's alma mater. The school had begun as a Jesuit location, but was non-denominational by the time Justin matriculated. In 2008, Trudeau said that of all his early family outings, he enjoyed camping with his father the most, because that's where a father got to be just our father, a dad in the woods. During the summers, his father would send him and his brothers to Camp Almec on Canoe Lake in Algonquin Provincial Park, where he would later work at his first paid employment as a camp counselor. Now, Trudeau's brothers were eventually given shares in a number of trusts funded by their father, for which they received regular dividends. As of 2011, according to published reports, Trudeau's company had assets of $1.2 million. Now, eventually, Trudeau gained a Bachelor of Arts degree in Literature from McGill and a Bachelor of Education degree from the University of BC. Now, in his first year at McGill, Trudeau became acquainted with his future principal secretary, Gerald Butts, Trudeau mutual friend, Jonathan Ablett. Butts invited Trudeau to join the McGill debating union. They bonded while driving back to Montreal for the debate tournament at Princeton. It was the Princeton team, including Ted Cruz, who would go on to be elected U.S. Senator for Texas in 2013 and a candidate for U.S. Republican Party's presidential nomination in 2016. Now, Ted Cruz is Canadian by birth. That's probably the connection there. After graduation, Trudeau stayed in Vancouver, where he became a substitute teacher at local schools and worked permanently as a French and math teacher at the private West Point Grey Academy. He became a roommate at Douglas Lodge with fellow West Point Grey Academy faculty member and friend Christopher Ingvelson. From 2002 to 2004, he studied engineering at the École Polytechnique de Montréal, a part of the University of Montréal. He started a bachelor's degree in environmental geography at McGill, but withdrew from the program to seek public office among other regions. Now, in August 2002, Trudeau attended a Kokanee Summit in Creston, BC, to raise funds in honor of his brother Michel Trudeau and other avalanche victims. After the event, an unsigned editorial in the Crescent Valley Advance, a local newspaper, accused Trudeau of having groped an unnamed female reporter while at the music festival. The editorial stated Trudeau provided a day-late apology to the reporter, saying, "If I had known you were reporting for a national paper, I would never have been so forward." In 2018, Trudeau was questioned about the groping incident, but said he did not remember any negative incidents from that time. His apology and later statement about the event have been described as hypocritical, while responses to the story have been described as a witch hunt or non-story. Now, Trudeau, then 28, emerged as a prominent figure in October 2000 after delivering a sterling eulogy at his father's state funeral. The CBC received numerous calls to rebroadcast the speech after its initial transmission, and leading Quebec politician Claude Ryan, who, a very interesting comment, described it as perhaps the first manifestation of a dynasty. A book issued by the CBC in 2003 included speech in the list of significant Canadian events from the past 50 years. Now, I watched the speech live. Stirring, yes. Emotional, yes. Over the top, damn right. With all the celebrities and political, leaders in the audience. How much of it was acting and how much was real? It's hard to tell with Justin because half the time the way he goes on, you don't know if it's a real Justin Trudeau or if he plays Justin Trudeau. Now, get this. In 2007, Trudeau starred in the two-part CBC television miniseries The Great War, which gave an account of Canada's participation in the First World War. He portrayed his fifth cousin twice removed, Major Talbot Mercer Papineau, who was killed on Halloween Eve, October 30th, 1917, during the Battle of Passchendaele. Trudeau was one of several children of former prime ministers who have become media personalities, including Ben Mulroney, son of Brian Mulroney, Catherine Clark, the daughter of Joe Clark, and Trudeau's younger brother Alexandre. Ben Mulroney was also a guest at Trudeau's wedding. So a very interesting rise to recognition and power. Now, if you want to check out the CBC version of the speech, we still call it speech. The 12-minute version is available. It is bilingual on the CBC archives. But ladies and gentlemen, the Kennedy dynasty in the States. But you look at his connection through the years. Now, is he doing this because he's a Trudeau? Is he doing it for himself? He's an enigma, this guy. Because with a lot of politicians in Canada, you know what you're getting. Like people like John Crosby and Jean Charest, and you look at Elsie Wayne, you look at Alexa McDonough, Elizabeth Weir, New Brunswick. What you see is what you get. That's the NDP and the other parties. But with Justin Trudeau, I've been a journalist for 37 years. I can't really read him because he had all this promise to do all these kind of things, and he blew it. But yet he's still going to probably win another term as Prime Minister. Now, Jean Chrétien made a lot of mistakes in Trudeau's cabinet, especially the Indian Act. He got elected. Paul Martin made a lot of mistakes. He got elected. Brian Mulroney made a lot of mistakes. You can't call this guy a comeback kid because he hasn't gone away. Now, did he save the Liberal Party on a federal level in Canada? Pretty well, because the leaders they had, part-time and others, were not a Liberal leader. But the biggest difference between he and his father had geniuses in cabinet. I think we had 15 or 20 key figures from all parts of Canada. He had like a maritime lieutenant, a Quebec lieutenant, Ontario lieutenant out west. Besides Dominic LeBlanc and a few others, he doesn't really have any strong people that can help him, guide his way. Now, Justin Trudeau, any person that gets elected to public office, has my respect. I don't think Erin O'Toole is the one to beat Justin Trudeau fully, but again, with the advanced polls, you never know. You see, a Canadian election, or even provincial or federal elections, there's always upsets. This is sort of like, you know how we look at the NFL scoreboard. Every weekend there's always 2 or 3 upsets. And it's not a major upset. It's like 3 points or 7 points. No, like number 5 team beats a number 1 team in the division by 40 points. However, it depends with the advanced poll. But we're not talking about that. You have to know your opponent. If you're not a fan of Justin Trudeau, know where he came from. To defeat your opponent, you have to read about him. For example, if you're a boxer, let's say a boxer in 1979 going up against Roberto Duran, know what his weaknesses were in the Jesus fights. Know what his weaknesses was against Ken Buchanan or in his title fights. He didn't have many weaknesses, but anybody can be beaten. If you look at Rocky IV, he's only human if you can cut your opponent. Now, Justin Trudeau is getting a pity vote. When he started throwing gravel at him the last couple of weeks of the campaign, that's when the vote went back up. Now, did Justin get in on his looks? Who knows? Certain people feel sorry for Margaret. Did you know the connection that Justin had with Margaret? Liberal votes for a number of reasons. It could be me because it's financial. I haven't voted Liberal since Justin has been in, by the way. That's no joke. Because my era is done. The Liberal era of New Brunswick in the 1970s and 80s with everybody, including Frank McKenna. But Justin Trudeau was destined to be doing something. He would have been Governor General, but when he made that speech on CBC, he basically was, maybe was he testing the waters? Who knows? All I know, ladies and gentlemen, I've covered every election that has impacted New Brunswick and Canada since 1983, including the separation vote in 95, where we're 20 minutes away from separation. Justin Trudeau is not keeping this country together. It's the people keeping the country together. His father kept the country together because of the War Measures Act and the downturn in the economy, all the problems of the 70s into the 80s. But when Nixon said the future Prime Minister of Canada, I don't know if he meant to do that. That's probably the only thing he said that wasn't a lie or wasn't condescending. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like Justin Trudeau, that's fine. If you don't like him, that's fine. You're not going to be allowed to comment on this podcast because I don't want any sycophants or crazy people on my channel anyway. Like I said, if you don't like it, stop or subscription to my channel. This is my opinion only. If you hate the man, vote him out. Don't try to kill him. Hating your enemies dulls your judgment. I don't like the San Francisco 49ers. I don't try to kill Steve Young or throw something at the TV when Steve Young's on. If you don't like something, don't ignore it or vote it out. Don't attack it physically. You can attack it with words, but no threats, please. Be a human being, not a human doing. Have a good day. Bye.